this now because I got like maybe about 20 minutes, before I start my shift. But I wanted to talk about what happened with Michael Rainey Jr. and the ramifications when you have these type of situations. And people have to understand this happens to men a lot. And in particularly, this is another one of these deep-seated conversations that we don't like to talk about, especially when it pertains to black men, because it comes a time where, like I said before, there's this notion that we're not allowed to say anything, speak on anything. We're not supposed to have a voice, and particularly when it comes to just basically anything. And this is why a lot of times we're disrespected as much as we're disrespected, because a lot of people have this notion that the women in our community are our leaders. Now, television and film and other forms of entertainment will have you believe in that, but that's not factual. And I'm here to debunk that and expose that. Just I'll do it at a separate time. But in case you guys don't know, Michael Rainey Jr., star of Power Book 2 Ghosts, which is entering this final season unexpectedly. Apparently, he was on a streamers, one of them video gamer guys, if I'm not mistaken, on Twitch. And basically, the guy's sister just basically came out of nowhere and just started grabbing the dude's, private parts. And you can clearly see her like reaching and touching him, and he felt very uncomfortable. And basically he ended up leaving the spot, and he spoke on it. Now, some people are trying to downplay it. You have a bunch of goofy ass men and then some goofy ass women just saying that, well, these things happen. He's a man, so it's different versus when it's a woman. No, it's not different. If I don't tell you to touch me, you're not supposed to touch me. And that's the problem right there. And then you have, of course, 50 Cent trying to downplay it. That's another reason why I just don't respect 50 Cent, because he's just a cornball. And he tries to make a joke out of everything. How many times have you seen these situations where you looking around and reading, and you may discover on the internet that there's some kind of incident where you have some teacher, having an affair with a student? They just caught one a couple of months ago that they found in the car, screwing around with one of her students. She's like in her 30s, and the kid is like basically 14 or something, and he ran out of the car. He was, naked in his birthday suit, as they call it. She was arrested. But this happens a lot, especially to young men. And it shouldn't be happening, because there's always been this thing where if you're a woman that does that, you're not as demonized as much as a man would be. Now, we're sitting up here having these conversations about Diddy and what he supposed to did, grooming people and all this kind of stuff. And that's the problem. It's a double standard when it comes to that. Because, back in the slave days, a lot of times when those slaves would be sold at auctions, a lot of times if they were bought by women, the woman would walk up right to the slave and grab his private parts and see, well, what he was working with for possibly, breeding or self-pleasure for the female slave owner. We know what was going on, back then. A lot of women that owned slaves used them as a personal jump off as well. This is a lot of stuff that they hide, and they don't want you to know. And this is why we are well deserving of reparations, because of the stuff that was done to us. So men been getting assaulted as well as women. Now, I'm not trying to say that, is worse than, worse than a woman versus a man. When somebody touches you inappropriate, whether you're a male or female, you have a right to be upset. No man has the right to be putting his hands on you unless you tell him to. Same thing with a man. No woman has the right to be touching you unless you tell her to. But you have this thing where, like I said, in particularly with black men, we're not supposed to say anything about anything. First of all, that girl is lucky that she not sitting up in jail, and she's yet to issue a public apology to Michael Rainey Jr. because she definitely owes him a public apology. And the video gamer, I think his name is Little Tay or something like that, or whatever his name is. First he tried to downplay it and say, well, she not used to being around celebrities and all that kind of stuff. But so it doesn't matter whether you're not used to being around celebrities. You don't have the right to just walk up and grab a man's junk. And then the sad part about it was a lot of kids there. So not only did you inappropriately touch a person without his consent, you inappropriately touched a person in front of kids. And we all saw that. And that's the problem right there. No accountability. Now, the video gamer has since apologized and said that he's banned her from participating in any of his, streams. But you have to ask yourself, is that enough? Because Michael Rainey Jr. could just shut the dude's whole, he could just shut the dude's whole streaming channel down. He could just lawyer up and he could just shut him down. And Michael Rainey Jr. spoke on that. And then, what I didn't like, now you had a lot of people that was like, yeah, he's right. But then you had some people trying to downplay it. Oh, well, it's not the same when it happened. No, it is the same. I don't want nobody just walking up, touching me that I don't know. I don't care how fine she is. You're not supposed to just walk up to me and touch me just because you think you can. And I've seen women do that. Just walk up to a dude and touch him. At the end of the day, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's sexual assault, no matter how you try to put a spin on it. Because if I walk up to somebody and, a woman and grab their, their breast or their butt without their consent, well, guess what? I'm in trouble. So it is the same. I just get tired of these shaming tactics that they try to do. And you don't have the right to touch me unless I give you permission. But seeing what happened with Michael Rainey Jr. was like alarming for her to just walk up and do that, which means she's done it before. And she felt a little too comfortable doing that. And it makes me think, like, they always try to do this to black men. It reminds me a few years ago, well, a little while ago, when that transgender person just tried to walk up and tried to kiss Genuine. And Genuine was like, it's like, hey. And then for some reason, Genuine got vilified. It got called transphobic. Like, first of all, if I don't want nobody to kiss me, that's my right. But then, like I said, they could try to demonize and vilify black men basically about everything. And that's the problem. But I'm coming from a standpoint where we gonna start standing up for ourselves. I'm gonna start standing up for us. Period. No more shaming. Like I said before, if I have an issue with something, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna say this once again to black men. Why should we care? Why should we care what other people think pertaining to our community? Why should we care what outsiders think? We don't have to explain ourselves to nobody. I don't know how many times I have to say that, and I'm going to continue to say it. We have to stop letting people shame us and make us feel bad. Well, what about what other people think? What about them? Who cares? Who cares? We should never care. Their opinion should not mean nothing to us. When we stop worried about what other people think, especially people outside our communities, other people besides white people, who cares what a Hispanic thinks? Who cares what an Asian thinks? Who cares what another form of non-black thinks? But just to see that happen to Michael Rainey Jr. did 50 Cent sitting up there talked about, well, no charges won't be filed. You not dude's attorney. Just because you want to continue to sell some of those lousy, and promote some of those lousy fucking TV shows you got, you can't speak for Michael Rainey Jr. That's not your call. I mean, maybe if you would spend more time realizing that you black instead of always having your head up Eminem's ass, the better off you'll be. As far as Dr. Umar go, I'm not even worried about Dr. Umar, but I am going to, Dr. Umar always been up and down with him, but I am going to speak on what he said about Eminem. I 100% agree with him about Eminem not, and I repeat, not being the GOAT. You can't be the GOAT of anything that's created by another art form and another race. An art form that's created by us. No white man will never be the greatest rapper of all time. He might be the most greatest promoted rapper, but at the end of the day, Eminem's music is trash. That song he put out, Houdini, was trash. Don't matter if it went to number one. Just because something goes to number one doesn't mean it's good. How many movies was number one at the box office, and then when the reviews came out and when you actually saw the movie, it was trash? So that means absolutely nothing. But getting back to Michael Rainey Jr., I have to say this: nobody has the right to touch you if you don't give them permission. Your body is your body. Unless you give somebody permission, they shouldn't be touching you. Doesn't matter whether it's a male or female, male touching a male, woman touching a woman, whatever the case may be, or whatever they identify as, nobody has the right to be putting their hands on you and touching you inappropriately if you don't get in permission. So as far as Michael Rainey Jr. goes, should he pursue charges against her? Well, that's up to him, but it needs to get out there. Her name needs to get out there. Well, that says it all. That's there you have it. That says it all. 20, so she like 23 with that. So at the end of the day, she just came across as being thirsty. What part people don't understand, they have female predators as well. Just like they have, you know what I'm saying? You have to keep it 100. They have homosexual predators. That's a subject that people just don't be wanting to talk about, because a lot of times they like to play the game that they're always the victim and people come after them because of how they live their lifestyle. But that's another topic for another day. But anyway, just wanted to get my opinion about that. But we'll talk about a lot of this stuff over the weekend. It's your boy Town. I'm out.